Bam!
Hey everyone, it's Will Middleton and Kurt Von Ahnen from LifterLMS. We'll be live here for the next hour answering LifterLMS pre-sales, general, getting started, whatever questions you have, wherever you see us on social media. We'll kick on the music, and that means it's time to answer questions. So if you see us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LifterLMS Twitch channel, let us know any questions you have, and we'd be happy to dive into those. And we'll also be going through YouTube and our previous Facebook comments and answering some questions in those channels as well.
Yeah. Hey, are we broadcasting on your OnlyFans?
That one, I don't know if StreamYard integrates there yet, but let's see. What else? So yeah, I guess we could mix it up a little bit. We're starting to modify our go live program, and kind of what we're doing. We're doing a Wednesday, Thursday call now. Maybe we'll do a Monday, Tuesday call. We're still figuring it out and modifying a little bit. We'll have like a LifterLMS dance party segment. That's
yeah.
But I guess we could just kind of do an intro for people who are coming into the LifterLMS ecosystem and don't know who I am, don't know who Kurt is. We'll just run through a quick intro. Kurt, do you want to kick it off? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you're here answering questions live.
Oh yeah. Hey, I'm Kurt Von Ahnen. I have a small agency called Mañana No Mas. I do a lot of membership and learning type websites, and I've been on the LifterLMS team. Crud, Will, I think we're going on 3 years, maybe. It's amazing how time adds up. But I was a customer of LifterLMS, and then through doing the masterminds and all that stuff that comes with the Infinity Bundle, I got to know the team, and they said, hey, why don't you help us out on some live calls, some customer success, answering some questions, maybe onboarding some folks or problem solving some things. And it seems to have morphed into the Will and Kurt show here on multi-channel streams. So that's it in a nutshell, man. I mean, I love what we do, and getting active in the WordPress community has been a lot of fun too. So that's it. I just like to help folks find success with their WordPress stuff.
100%, and getting integrated with the WordPress community is really awesome. The more I integrate with these live calls and forums and all that kind of stuff, the easier it gets. But quick intro for me. My name's Will Middleton. I've created YouTube tutorials about LifterLMS, WordPress, external products, all kinds of stuff on the internet, in the Facebook groups. And I've worked at LifterLMS now for, I think it's 6 years now, a little bit over 6 years. 2017, I started doing the copywriting for the podcast, and now that job is done by AI, so I had to find something else to do. And so managing the customer success department, helping out the support team, creating content, jumping on live, answering questions, dealing with all kinds of stuff on the back end and reporting and metrics and all that kind of stuff. A lot of customer success, customer communication related stuff at Lifter is what I do. So the Will and Kurt show, we're modifying the schedule a little bit, so we're kind of figuring out this format a little bit better, trying to reach more people and get more people integrated into WordPress, LifterLMS, and figuring out how they can use it for their online platforms. So that is kind of the gist. If you're checking out this replay after we're live here, leave us any comments on our YouTube channel or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you see us, and the next time we're live we'll answer. And if you do happen to catch us live, type a comment in and we'll see it. We'll highlight it on the screen and we'll answer your question here. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for some questions to start rolling in, and I'll spool up a bunch of questions from the backlog, but today I was able to brush my teeth and I have a full glass of water. So dealing with like capacity management, and that's kind of an abstract question, a good abstract question. I wanted to kick it off with, and a question I wanted to pass to you, Kurt. I know a lot of people are creating their online course sites, their membership sites. Maybe they have a day job and they're starting a side hustle. They're managing multiple projects, and there's all kinds of stuff going on related to their capacity. Do you have any tips or best practices or ideas for these people, including me, who's managing a day job, other projects, and just all of the projects going on in life, and how we can focus on what's important and build out new stuff as creators?
Will, you're asking me such a multifaceted question. There's so much involved with that. I mean, I've done the side hustle thing. I've been corporately employed. I had Manana no Mas going. At one point, Manana no Mas was full time, right? And then I got hired away from myself when I became the manager at Ducati and training manager. And I had to focus on Ducati for, over half a decade. Then I went to Suzuki, and then I'm full-time Manana no Mas again. So in that ebb and flow of things, I was keeping things, working. I find what helps the most is self-awareness. Like, I mean, I encourage people all the time to chase their side hustle and their dream and to grow their deal. But it can't come at the detriment of everything else in life, right? So if you have a full-time gig, if you have a real job, you need to keep that going and be responsible. And if you're married and you have kids and you have other obligations, you got to kind of keep your tentacles out in that, right? But then you got to take those spare moments and you have to invest in yourself. And that takes a lot of balance and a lot of discipline. For me, people ask me all the time, they'll say, hey, what do you think about the hockey playoffs? And I'm like, I didn't even know there was the playoffs right now. I don't know anything about basketball. I don't know anything about football. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. People say, where do you find the time to write and publish a book? Well, I don't know anything about football. So, you might know something about football or the stats or who's the best quarterback on whatever team. I won't know that, but that's because I took my time and I invested it in research and writing my book. So there's sacrifices that come from somewhere. But entrepreneurs are supposed to be gifted in that area. They're supposed to be able to say, where am I willing to make a sacrifice and go a different route to get a different result? And so that's like my best piece of advice is be aware, have a lot of self-awareness, understand your own thresholds. And when you find yourself getting tired and when you find yourself getting beat up, have enough self-awareness to step back, rejuvenate, and get back at it. For me, that's mountain biking, and for you, that's collecting fluffy toys. But, everyone's got a thing, and you got to figure out, like, how do you just maintain it? Beyond that, there's a whole bunch of automated tools that we could have a discussion about. That would be more related to this channel, like, how do you manage your calendar? Are you on Calendly? Do you use Groundhog Calendar? Do you have automated appointment setting? Do you have automated billing for people that want appointments? Do you have, there's a ton of ways we could talk about this.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's a good idea. We could do a tutorial about integrating a calendar into an LMS website, or even just working with a calendar in a client-facing calendar, right? Of course, we have our internal calendars, which is one thing where we put our own appointments on there, but then opening up that avenue for an outward-facing calendar for others to be able to book different types of meetings of different lengths about different topics and fill out different forms before those meetings. That's a whole other topic that we don't usually talk a lot about at Lifter because we focus more on the passive membership course side of it, but there is that other component you can incorporate with the calendar that's front-facing. That is a cool thing.
I have so many things that I learned over the years, things that I thought I was going to do a certain way that didn't work out. Like, I used to be a kind of an all-in, Microsoft guy, right? So Microsoft, Outlook, Office, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, the whole thing, right? And I liked having my calendar on my computer. And as a corporate employee, that's what they want you to do, right? So everything's in your computer. You have a shared calendar with your boss. The vice president sees what you're doing. It's all there. But then when I was growing my own little enterprise, it was amazing how limiting that calendar became. And then migrating to either sync or use the Google Calendar, it seemed to open so many more avenues up, because with Google, I can instantly sync with Calendly. I can sync with my Groundhog. My Groundhog and my Calendly sync into my Google, which syncs both of them, right? So if someone wants to schedule on a Calendly link, or if I want to schedule on someone else's Calendly link, Calendly tells me when I'm available on someone else's schedule. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just those kinds of things where those are the types of tools where over time you're like, as an entrepreneur, I might have thought that I wanted to stick with, Quark Express or Oracle or, you know, all these names that we might have heard in the corporate world. But as an entrepreneur, it's not really a use case advantage.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. I'm scrolling through the YouTube comments now, trying to see if we can come up with any good questions. I haven't been in here in a while, so I'm just highlighting a few questions. If we can, let's see, it won't reply. Interesting. Yeah, I guess this is the first LifterLMS question we could highlight here. Pretty good topic for a screen share. I'll post the comment here on YouTube and then pull it up on the screen. This is a comment we had earlier on in our channel. So if I set up a widget for a course sidebar and I cannot find the course syllabus, any idea what I've done wrong so far? So I think this question relates to that right-hand sidebar, the widgets panel. I don't know, Kurt, are you in a position where you could do a screen share and show us kind of how we can use the syllabus in the sidebar for a LifterLMS website?
I could pull up our sample site. Yeah. You might actually have to talk me through what we're actually doing, to be honest with you, because I'm not sure I understand the full question. They're saying that they're not seeing the syllabus.
Yeah, so the syllabus would be that we used to call it the course outline that went in the sidebar, but now it's just called the syllabus wherever it is. That would be the appearance widgets area where we can modify what's exactly in that course sidebar.
Yeah, let me get in there.
And because I know this interface has changed a lot. You know, widgets in WordPress used to be their own dedicated thing. Under the back end, there was appearance widgets, and they had this whole little drag and drop editor. And now it's you leveraging the block editor, which is the newer WordPress editor. And so we do have a lot of questions come up about how can I edit my sidebar and how can I put my blocks in there.
So here's an example of the course site, and here's the lessons and the syllabus, and this is what I'm used to seeing. So where do we want to go? Do we want to edit the course, or do I want to go into something else?
Yeah, so we could take a look at editing the course here. This is where you would determine if there is a sidebar at all on this page, if you want a sidebar or if you want a full width layout. And I think it is important to highlight too that this is a theme specific item. This course sidebar, each theme treats sidebars differently. And so I think it's in this theme, it looks like we're using the cadence. So all the way at the top, there's that little pencil in a, it's like next to the LifterLMS icon. Yep. Yeah, that's where we would determine, is there even a sidebar on this course page to start with? And so
left sidebar, right sidebar, and then there's the default. Yeah.
Yeah. And the default is going to go to whatever your customizer says is going to be the default, but then you could customize it for this specific course. So if you wanted to change it like you did here from right to left, you would just click left sidebar and then preview it. And now we'll have our sidebar over on the left side.
Shazam!
That's awesome, man. So now we want to take a look at the question, what happens if we want to modify what content is even in our sidebar? So we've taken a look at how can we have a sidebar, not have a sidebar, move it to the right or left, but what if we wanted to modify the content that's in that sidebar? And so that's where we would exit out of the course and go back to the general WordPress admin area, and then we'll go to appearance widgets down here on the back end. Appearance widgets, and this is that new interface that sometimes people see this. It's got the whole welcome to the block editor, and we're like, what is going on here? And if we take a little tour scrolling through here, we see course sidebar on the top, then we see lesson sidebar, we see sidebar 1, sidebar 2. Like, what's all this stuff going on here? Like, there's all these blocks hanging out in sidebar 1, whatever sidebar 1 is, whatever sidebar 2 is. There's footer 1, footer 2, footer 3. And so a quick example or explanation of what this area is under appearance widgets is these are items that the theme has decided are kind of modifiable. When we see footer 1, 2, 3, the Cadence theme has decided that I think there's 4 maybe for the footer. But they've decided that there's going to be 4 areas in the footer that you can put these little blocks into, and then you could designate in the theme panel where those go. So footer 1, 2, 3, 4 would be put a picture in this part of the footer and then a menu somewhere else. And so in addition to these footer items, there's also the sidebar items. And this is all pertaining to the Cadence theme. So I think the Astra theme has something similar, but it'll look a little bit different. And the new LifterLMS Sky Pilot theme doesn't really use the widgets as heavily as you can see here, because the Sky Pilot's going to be using Full Site Editor. But if you can see what Kurt's doing here, if he added an image, I think if you go back to the widgets area, did you put that in the course sidebar, or is that in the sidebar?
I put it in the regular sidebar.
Oh, cool. Okay, so
I could put it in the course sidebar. We could do that for fun too.
Yeah, so this course sidebar is going to be what appears on your course pages, and then lesson sidebar is what appears in your lesson pages. So if you did want to add a logo, a contact form, any content to that sidebar, including the syllabus block or the progress block, you can do that. Just like Kurt's doing on screen with this new block editor. The block editor is really fascinating. We talk about that a lot. But by adding content via blocks to your course sidebar,
there it is.
Yeah, that you can put logos on there. That looks pretty clean, having a little logo there.
Yeah. I might want to put it back on the right, though. I'm a right sidebar kind of guy. I'm not a left sidebar kind of guy.
Yeah, I think I am too. I do prefer the right-hand sidebar.
Well, I could put it back on default, or I could take right sidebar. I guess it'd be the same result, because the default in this one is right sidebar.
Yeah. And,
all right. And then I'll preview that just to make sure.
Yeah, and one thing that might be fun to do, it looks great. One thing that might be kind of fun to do here is switch over to the Lifter Sky Pilot theme. I don't know, do you have that installed on this site, the Sky Pilot?
I did not install that yet, but I do have the file. You want me to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, that would be cool to check out if we could see. This is an instance using Cadence. This site here, Cadence theme, supports LifterLMS, one of the most popular WordPress themes. It was one of my favorites as a theme, and the Lifter Sky Pilot theme that just came out is, I think, going to be one of my favorite themes going forward, if not my favorite theme going forward. And so we'll take a look at how we can modify the sidebar in the Sky Pilot theme as well, because this is going to be a little bit of a different process than what we just demonstrated with Cadence. So I'm going to pull up a site on my end too, just so I'm like kind of going through it before we show it on screen and making sure I'm talking about the right things. I'm pretty sure we do have the widgets panel in the theme. It's the same widgets panel we just took a look at. But then there's also that concept of the editor. I'm going to make sure in my editor, and this is a good demo of this editor. Yeah, so it looks like we still do use the widgets panel inside of Sky Pilot. But then we could demo some of the Sky Pilot stuff too. So, but the same process that we just took a look at will also apply to the Sky Pilot theme.
There we go. I had to find it.
Oh yeah, no rush. And so what Kurt's uploading now is the Sky Pilot theme file that's available on lifterlms.com. If you're a Universe or Infinity level customer, you can download this thing, add it to your website, and start working with a full site editing theme for Lifter. This is the one I'm going to be using on my future projects, and I know Kurt has actually already deployed the Sky Pilot theme on a project. Kurt had already deployed the Sky Pilot theme on a project before the theme was even released to the public. Kurt's like an early adopter on the cutting edge.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, and just to be, there's barely anybody here that's going to be interested in what this website does, but I really love how clean the whole thing came out. Like, it just feels so light, like I really dig the whole thing. I think it worked out really awesome. I'm going to close that. All right, well, we've got Sky Pilot live now. I'm going to click the magic button here. You ready?
Oh yeah. See what it looks like.
See what it looks like.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
So out of the chute with making no changes, it's workable. Look at that. That looks good, man.
Yeah. And we usually advise creating a staging website, not like on live websites with 1,000 students in it, 100 students. On my personal sites, I'll just switch the theme because I don't care. But even if I have a bunch of students in my site, but if you're running a project that might frustrate students or confuse students, we always recommend creating a staging website. But in this case, we're just going to click activate new theme and see what happens. But it does look really good out of the box. The only things we have to fix would be like menus and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no navigation or anything yet.
Yeah, and I think if we go back to the back end under appearance widgets real quick, I just want to highlight how the sidebar settings we were just taking a look at in Cadence are the same over here. It's the same sort of thing. You got your core sidebar with your same image, your core sidebar with your syllabus, and some other widget areas. So this editor we just demoed is going to be exactly the same here in the SkyPilot theme. But what is different about the SkyPilot theme that than other themes is under appearance, we'll have a new item called editor. And so you can see there's like basically the same layout here, but under, if you scroll down,
I'm getting there. Appearance editor.
You're good. Appearance editor. This is a new thing. This thing kind of scares people. It scared me the first time I saw it. I jumped. I'm like, did this just redirect me somewhere else? This doesn't seem like the back end of WordPress to me. But I guess
I'm making that a little bigger so people can see what's here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Templates and template parts. And so, yeah, templates breaks out all the different pages or indexes in the site that are using templates. And then if you want to get into the template parts, that's where you can draft out your headers and your footers and stuff like that. And you can add, the part I love is it's so simple to add. So if you have a footer, but you want a minimal footer, you can add that. Or if you want a different footer, you can call it something different, but you can add, multiple elements.
Right. Exactly. So it looks like maybe we could take a tour of adding a navigation menu. Is that something?
I'm willing to fumble through this.
Sounds
so
good.
Do I want to add? We should still have a menu in there from before. So let me. I still am, I guess scared. Is scared a good word to use? I still want to see if I have it in my main menu. So I have menus here. I have the course menu and the main menus, and so I have the course menu, and that's what we were using before, right? And then we have the footer menu. So we should be able to play with the menu in the appearance area under editor, right? So do I want to go to header?
Yeah, so here's where we have our header. And in this instance, we have one header across our entire website. And like Kurt had mentioned earlier, we could split it and have a header on the homepage, a different header here and there. But to keep it simple in this example, we have one header across our entire website. And so if you click that little pencil icon, or even just click into the template itself, it'll take you right into this screen where we can modify what's here in the header. And I like to use that list view thing over on the left a lot of the time, just to show me what this page is made of. Because I think, Kurt, do you use the list view a lot? I think this one helps me navigate what's even happening on the page.
I'm still getting used to the list view. I'm more of a visual point and click kind of guy.
Sounds good. I like this one. If you click the little caret key, it kind of expands down what's happening. I like this because it just shows me kind of how things are nested. Because I'll click on something like a button, and it won't show me the settings on the right side that I was expecting to see.
Yep.
And so I'll be like, what's going on? And so that's why I like this list view, because it shows me exactly what I'm clicking on. And especially once we get into this navigation feature, that thing will populate like a bunch of little nav items. And so I like that one to be able to help me with understanding what's going on. And so if we open up the right-hand side as well, like if we leave list view open and open up that right side, yep, on the settings, we can see these settings on the right are going to be the settings for the block that we're currently editing. It's taking a minute to load the menu there. But if we see in the middle, we have navigation menu has been deleted or is unavailable. And so we can either create a new menu, but what we want to do here is probably select the menu that we want to add in. And so you can see
I selected course menu. Let's see how long it takes. There we go.
Nice. And also, one thing I want to highlight real quick, over on that left side, you see navigation now has a little caret key next to it. Now it's got all that stuff that you just added in, all these individual blocks for each item. And then the courses expands into the submenu for courses and community. And so
it's clean.
Yeah, it's a pretty clean layout. And then we could save this if you're good with this menu. I think it looks pretty good. Let's save this, and what it's going to do here is update our menu across the entire website. So if we there's not a fast way, I guess, to get to the front end of the website from here, but if we just exit out back to the WordPress admin, we could get back over to the front end of the website, and our menu should be good. We've updated. So basically what we just did is update our header, our template part for our header. And so now that header includes the menu like we wanted it to.
I'm still going to save am I ready to save? Yes, I'm ready to save.
Yeah, I always click the save button way too many times myself just to make sure that I'm good.
There we go.
Nice.
Courses. And then, of course, in that header edit area, you can rearrange the order of your nav as well. You can drag things up and down or move them around. Dude, this is looking good. I mean, I hate to make it sound so simple, but I mean, we literally just added the theme and clicked go, and there it is.
Yeah.
I would change the order of the menu, or maybe some menu items, like maybe privacy and terms of use. So I'd move into a footer menu, and then, you know, I would leave contact, blog, courses, and dashboard up top. And then I would add a home button probably, so people aren't just using my academy. There'd also be a home selection. But overall, dude, this is populated well, and we're able to see, you know, the functionality of the site is all still there, and it's the look is, I think, really modern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Like we've talked about before, it's got like this kind of borderless look where you see like dashboard is what we were selected on. It's got that nice like gray panel, and the courses here in the center don't really have a border around them. It's just like this kind of clean. They've got a shadow, a little bit of an animation effect, and like you said, it's just a clean look.
Yeah.
It really, I think what it does is really well is it leverages the feeling of a website relative to the feeling of, you know, maybe a physical book or an ebook or a PDF. This sort of like where we're taking the strengths of CSS and JavaScript, something we get to use on web pages that we don't necessarily get to use in a lot of other places, and using that kind of stuff to help enhance the experience. And that's what I love about designers, is they kind of know what the unique tools are that are at their disposal in this medium of a website, and then they can kind of use them in an awesome way. Whereas, you know, myself and Kurt, we can build anything. Like you tell us what to build, we can design it like that. Show us what to build in the PDF format. We can build it like that. We can install templates. But I think that's where the intuitive power of design comes in, is understanding what the unique points of leverage are with this platform.
Yeah, the profile's a little weird, but everything else is looking pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to pull that whole achievement thing.
Yeah. Emergency budgeting. Wow, I should take that course. All right. Cool, man. Well, I've been playing on a screen share. Have people been commenting or asking questions yet? Have we invited people to comment or ask questions yet?
We don't have any comments or questions in here yet. Let me post to all destinations.
And I did post this up on LinkedIn, and I'm trying to watch the LinkedIn feed. You can see that over here. So
cool. Well, yeah, thanks, Kurt, for taking us on a tour of the demo site with the new Lifter Sky Pilot. And for this call, I didn't send out an email to our whole email list again. I got to figure out some sort of format to do that in a way where maybe one email a week. I don't want to hit people's inbox like multiple times a week. Like, hey, we're live today. We'll email you again when we're live tomorrow. I'll probably do like a weekly schedule sort of thing. Like, hey, we're live. This is the next time we'll be live. But I've got to go build a template and figure out the schedule and all that kind of stuff to do that. But let me see if I can pull another question out of our YouTube channel. Here's a good question that we actually had on one of our calls a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to highlight this question. Oops, I posted that to all platforms. That's okay. We'll highlight it here. Hi, what is the better hosting for your LifterLMS?
Oh boy,
that's a good question. And we have lifterlms.com/recommended resources. You can also Google LifterLMS recommended resources. Has a lot of web hosts that we typically recommend our users work with. In our Facebook group, if you join our Facebook group, LifterLMS, it's like online successful course creators. It's like LifterLMS VIPs. It's a free Facebook group to join. And you could check out our community recommendations regarding hosting there as well. And we talk about this a lot. I feel like we talk about it over and over again, sound like a broken record, but the question keeps coming up. So I guess we could cover it here again about the importance of dynamic website hosting for your LMS website versus just static website hosting. And you'll find a lot of website hosting supports static content, like a blog post, a site, or a restaurant website, a website where the content doesn't really change. So you can leverage caching, you can leverage CDNs to optimize the speed of the website very well by sort of sacrificing the ability of the website to interact with the database and get the latest content. But with an LMS website or an e-commerce website or a membership style website that leverages the power of quizzing, the power of logins, the power of displaying items depending on whether someone is enrolled in a certain course or enrolled in a certain membership. There's a lot of dynamic questions that are being asked, like, is this user enrolled in this course in order to view this block? Is this user allowed to take this quiz? Have they passed the prerequisite? There's a lot of questions that the LMS is asking in these examples to create the user experience. And so we recommend a website host that supports dynamic content. I know for a lot of my projects, I use WP Engine. Cloudways is another one that has a good understanding and support for dynamic content in WordPress websites. And I know, Kurt, you actually gave a talk earlier this week around creating a successful LMS platform on that technical level. Do you think you could highlight a couple of the points you talked about regarding good website hosting earlier in the week?
Yeah, so I was actually part of a marketing piece, and so that part of that marketing thing was like, it was more of a WordPress talk in general, and I did cover a little bit of LMS and e-commerce building as well, but it wasn't too deep on that side of it. What I was pointing out to is just how stinking important it is to understand your use case before you just start clicking buttons and signing up for things. You know, that to me was the biggest part of my talk, was that, because the talk was aimed at not developers. It was aimed at business owners that know they need to be on the internet but aren't yet, and they're struggling with the, am I a DIY person? Do I need an agency? Kind of that talk. And so a lot of it was based on use case. And then, yeah, I ended up saying, you can go with managed WordPress hosting. If you're going to be on WordPress, it would be in your favor to get, managed WordPress hosting and have something that's specific, to your application. And then beyond that, think use case. And to your point, when you start talking about dynamic content and stuff like that, there's, you and I both understand this because we deal with this, but we have to somehow communicate to others that some of these managed WordPress hosting companies, they cache a lot of stuff. They're very aggressive with caching because they want to reduce the resource draw on the server. They want to speed things up. And in most cases, what they're doing is very favorable. Like if I had a blogging site, having it be overly cached would be fine. I want the site to be fast. I want it to be, I want it to keep going. But as soon as you get into like e-commerce, membership, learning management systems, when you get into things that have a lot of dynamic activity happening, you want to limit the caching. And then that's when you need to kind of, sometimes that's not a DIY conversation. Sometimes you want to have an expert in your corner that can contact the host on your behalf and have the caching reduced to just the elements that are applicable.
Right. And I like to come up with metaphors. And so one common metaphor I think of when it comes to caching or optimization in general is like moving. I was doing a lot of moving. I'm in my dad's camper right now, moving my stuff. You can see I've got all of my my stuff here ready to get driven to Minnesota this weekend. But I was also helping my roommate move, and she's staying here in the state. And so what we did is got a U-Haul and boxed up stuff and put it in the U-Haul. And so when I think of caching, I think, or the moving process in general is like, you take paper, newspaper, bubble wrap, and wrap up your fragile stuff and put it in boxes and delicately bring it into the U-Haul. And I think of optimization is speeding up that process of like, we're not going to wrap it with paper. We're just going to take the stuff, throw it in the box, throw it in the U-Haul and go. And so, you might end up breaking more things that way by being less, um, understanding of the dynamic and fragile process of moving some of these more delicate items. By optimizing the speed of the process of moving, we sometimes sacrifice and cause things to break by not being as careful. And so that's like what I think of when it comes to optimization is just that moving analogy. And so we want to kind of slow down and understand what exactly is going on and what the assets we're trying to deliver and best deliver those assets, which is why having a website host that supports dynamic content and doesn't cache that dynamic content is useful.
Yeah, I think of it like express lanes, especially out on the East Coast. Like sometimes you pay a little extra and you get in the express lane and you get where you want to go more quickly, but you don't get all the same exits, right? So sometimes you'll blow past those small towns. Well, unfortunately, in a membership or learning environment or e-commerce environment, the devil's in the details, right? You don't want to miss certain transactions or certain exchanges, right? And that's like, you don't want to miss certain exits on the highway. Sometimes you want to stop and get that mom and pop burger somewhere, right? And sometimes if you're in the express lane, you miss that opportunity. If you're in a highly cached environment, sometimes you miss, the details.
That's a great analogy as well. And like, we might want to, on that analogy of an express lane, we might want to pull off with the server and tell the server that a user has passed a quiz, but we might not have that exit available if we're leveraging the express lane to store that data and say, hey, the user passed the quiz. And so then they're on the express lane and they're going in the direction to move on to lesson 2, but there's like a restriction message that says, hey, you need to pass the quiz on lesson 1 before moving to lesson 2. And the user's like, I did pass the quiz, but the data wasn't sent properly because you missed the exit with the optimization. That was in place. And another good question we had pop up, let me post this one on YouTube from the comments and highlight it. I've already installed the plugin for the second time, but the wizard messages didn't appear, so I created the pages. Could you tell me how to get the free plugin and the pages created as I need? I guess it cut off my YouTube comment. It was too long. This is as I need to try it before buying.
Yeah.
Okay. So the LifterLMS offers the setup wizard. When you install the plugin, usually it has the setup wizard pop up by default that says, hey, we're going to create a course catalog, a purchase page, a dashboard page. It takes care of automatically creating these pages in the background for you. And Kurt, I think you could share your screen and show us how we might be able to rerun this setup wizard if it didn't happen to run when we installed the plugin.
Yeah, absolutely. I had just pulled up that page. So let's get into that, add the stream. This right here is the back end. Are you seeing the back end of LifterLMS on your screen, Will?
I am.
Perfect. So, here's the standard back end of a WordPress installation. I went to the LifterLMS menu, but if we go down to the status menu, right, and click on status, that's going to give us hey, I went to the wrong place. Oh my goodness. No, here it is, tools and utilities. I lost myself. How about that? We go to tools and utilities inside the status menu, and we go down here to setup wizard. See that you can return to the setup wizard. So sometimes, and I've done it while I'm working with customers and I'm in a hurry, I'll be like, click, 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 and I go right past the features of adding the pages or adding the sample courses. When you run the setup wizard for LifterLMS, and I'll just show it here real quick. When you rerun the setup wizard, you get the option to add the pages, right? So you can skip the setup, which is what a lot of folks do inherently, like by mistake. They want to click get started now. And then here's where that page setup is. So course catalog, membership catalog, checkout, student dashboard, all that gets automatically created. So we save and continue, go there. It's going to ask us if we want to enable offline payments. So let's say you want to sell like business to business sale and like take a corporate check and then activate 100 accounts. This is what enables you to do that, right? So enable offline payments. The next thing that's going to come up is help us improve and get a coupon. I say no thanks because I'm an Infinity agency, but if you're new, absolutely click that. And then this is a cool thing. I do this so whenever I install LifterLMS on any customer's website, I always install the quick courses and the course template, because I want people to understand kind of the power of what they're adding as a tool, and to be able to have a template to kind of duplicate and make their own content. A lot of folks have a great idea, but a lot of folks don't really understand how to implement the idea, or what chunking looks like in making a course, or kind of the visuals that you can add. And so adding these as samples works great. So I'll import the courses, and that'll finish the wizard. I'm going to go ahead and exit the setup because I've already got this in this templated site already. Part of what I really like about adding those sample courses, and something I think is worth saying here on the call, is that you can then go into the courses menu. And when we do that, we'll see that we have the ability to edit a course that we added. And what you can do is you can make that course hidden, or you can make that course private. And what that does is it allows you as the administrator to use it as a resource for designing additional courses, but you don't necessarily have to show it to the whole world, right? So when you add a Getting Started with LifterLMS course to your website, you can hide that and no one else sees it except for you, which is kind of a nice thing that you can look at right here if you look at your visibility, public, private, or password protected. The other thing, the reason that I put those in there is because if we go back to the menu and we look at courses, it's super easy to clone a course. So what I'll do for my customers is I'll say, hey, I put in this LifterLMS sample course for you, but you can clone it, and then you can edit the clone and kind of follow the format, but build your product out much more quickly than trying to do things from scratch.
That's a great tour of the system. And we had another question from the YouTube comments in the last week come in. This question is, how can I make a test questions, all of the test questions appear on one page instead of questions on the single page? So when you use LifterLMS quiz system, each question is going to be on its own page. Question 1, click the answer, move on to question 2, question 3. So they're each on their individual pages. And unfortunately, there's not a way to have them all appear on one page in the LifterLMS system. If you did require all questions to be on a single page, I would recommend checking out something like Gravity Forms. They have a Gravity quiz tool that allows you to turn a form into a quiz, and sort of taking that item outside of the LifterLMS quizzing system, possibly to maybe it could even be SCORM content or H5P content or something like that, maybe even a WP Forms, Gravity Forms, and then sending that data as to whether the student passed or failed that form back into the LifterLMS system. This would require a little bit of third-party integration with other tools, possibly WP Fusion, possibly the REST API, in order to take the data from the Gravity form and then report to the LifterLMS system that the student has either passed or failed that lesson, or either has marked the lesson complete or has not marked the lesson complete. I know WP Fusion is a really popular tool for integrating with a CRM like ActiveCampaign. So when a student might be finishing a Gravity form, it could tell the CRM like ActiveCampaign or Infusionsoft, whatever you're using, it could tell that system certain data, and then Lifter can be passed that data as well via WP Fusion to mark a lesson as complete. So if a student passes a quiz in a Gravity form, the CRM knows that. And once the CRM knows that via maybe a tag, for example, that lesson is automatically marked as complete and the student can move on. So that's getting into that custom LMS land a little bit, where we're leveraging a few tools to design a solution. But I think that's kind of a long way around to get to the point of having all the questions on a single page. And so I would recommend working with the Lifter quiz system out of the box, or maybe just having a quiz that isn't necessarily graded through a third-party system. But there is a way to tie it all together if you did want to do that. And that was a discussion we were having yesterday about not sacrificing all kinds of resources to find a technical solution to a problem that we might be able to solve in another way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I came across a couple of things yesterday as I had a lot of projects, like just strings of projects. hanging around yesterday, and after we got offline, I was able to jump into a couple of things. And I use a client portal for people to send me like change requests and things like that for projects we're working on. And there were a couple of things where they were like, I want this bigger, I want that smaller, I want this over here, I want this to be white, I want this to be black, I want this to be red. And I was like, okay. And as I was making some of those changes, just treating it like a to-do list, when I got done with like 80% of it, I was like, it hit me. I'm like, why did they ask me for all these changes? like what was the purpose of this? And so it was just interesting, that kind of conversation we had yesterday. I was like, okay, I'm doing it, because they asked me to do it. But then I was like, what was the purpose of this? And then it was just interesting that the way that thought occurred. Pretty crazy.
For sure. Can't find it. Let's see. We had another question come in. Let me just highlight this one. This will be the last question we hit probably for today's call. I'll post it here in the YouTube chat. Hopefully it won't break it into two. That did. Okay. Well, let's pull it up on screen. I have a user who can't sign in. The message is that there's no user account available for this user. When the WordFriends plugin is deactivated, they can sign in, and they can't find the source of the real issue, and they wanted the ability to see the password when typing in. So this seems like a couple questions combined into one. And the last part of that question is to make sure there's no password mistakes. So the first part of the question is the message of no user account existing when the WordPress plugin is active. In that case, what I'd recommend doing is creating a staging website through your host, which would be a copy of your live website, and sending temporary admin logins to our support team through our ticketing system, so our tech support experts can log in and see what it looks like with just LifterLMS and WordPress active. A lot of times when there's a plugin conflict like this, where maybe you have the WordFriends plugin and LifterLMS both active and there's some sort of an issue going on. I know Lifter does work with WordFriends well. I have it on a bunch of my websites. But if you're running into some kind of specific conflict, by creating that staging website and giving our team logins, they can look at the console, they can look at some developer tools while troubleshooting in order to see what error messages are returned, and then they can best diagnose what line of code is causing the problem, and then offer a solution. Maybe it's deactivating a certain setting. Maybe it's adding a little code snippet to modify some sort of a function to allow the user to log in. Whatever the solution may be, a staging website is usually our recommended way to go about finding that and reporting it to the team for that advanced technical troubleshooting. And the second question here about wanting the ability to see the password when typing it in to make sure that there are no mistakes with the password. I don't know if there's a way to actually reveal the password when it's being typed. Let me open up my demo site real quick here and see under LifterLMS forms if there's an option to even show that password when it's being typed in. Just pull this up in the background. User password field. Yeah, I don't see a way, unfortunately, to show that password while it's being typed in. It just obscures it on the screen to make sure it's secure. So yeah, that would be something we could add to our feature request board. I'll go ahead and do that now on our voting board. Feature request to have the option, add the option to show password when typing on the login form to make sure there are no mistakes. All right, so I've added that to a feature request board for our product team to take a look at. But it is about 5 minutes from the hour now, so we will wrap it up for today. Will Middleton and Kurt von Ahnen from LifterLMS. Leave us any comments and questions, and in whatever channels you see us. Today we got through the YouTube backlog a bit, and next week we'll probably do a stream earlier in the week where we'll dive into the Facebook group again. We have a couple Facebook groups, YouTube channel. We'll dive into comments wherever you leave them. Any final words for the audience, Kurt?
Yeah, I put a note in there in the comments to share, but Michelle Frigette, who is really highly regarded in the WordPress space. Where's it? It's not coming up. There it is. Started a new project. Chris signed up. I signed up. Obviously, we're endorsing this pretty heavily. If you are a speaker and you're open to speak at WordPress events, WPSpeakers.com is a brand new referral site, and Michelle's just awesome. So if you could support Michelle, if you're into this, go ahead and get your name in there. And then other than that, Will, I don't want an hour go by where we don't say, hey, if you're an agency, we have a listing for agencies and we want to start working more and more with agencies. So if you go to lifterlms.com/agency, that would be awesome. lifterlms/agency.com lifterlms.com/agency. Oh my goodness, I can't even say it myself. That's that, man. I guess I'll see you in the mastermind in about an hour.
Sounds great. I'll see you in an hour, Kurt. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll see you all next week.